I love this scene, man. This and the scene that follows it is probably the best scene in The Last of Us Part 2. And if you know, you know. You know? It really does everything to humanize, or, well, make real what Ellie has been doing for the past 2 days in Seattle, how far she's gone, and how much that shit affects her. Really? You gonna come in and interrupt? Yeah, that's what I thought. It really does do so much for the game, and so much for Ellie's character. How shows how far she's gone, and how horribly that's affecting her. But I can't say the same for one of the best scenes for Abby. Oh, God. That scene where it's her and Lev. They're not my family, you are. That hits. That hits real hard. It's about the found family and all that. But then they follow it up with a gameplay sequence where you might have to kill the rest of your team, former allies. And I get it. In the heat of the moment, you're going to take, if it's me or them, I'm going to take them out. But these are people who are calling you out by name, like, hey, yo, this is serious. And it's the same with Lev, too. It's the same with Lev getting attacked by the Seraphites. Ooh. But, you know, but at that point, we don't know too much about Lev. We're just learning about Lev, and, you know, these people have been hunting him for I don't know how long. I don't think they really say. But when it comes to, so I think with both of these, this actually applies to both of them. It's crazy. It's crazy how, now that I think about this, now that I'm actually recording it, it applies to both of these characters. They're being hunted by their own. And, you know, obviously, you take no joy in killing people, let alone people of your own clan, your own group. But when Lev and Abby kill people of their own group, it's like it doesn't hit the same. It don't hit this way that Ellie taking out Nora hit. And Ellie didn't even know this person, but she tortured him, and she tortured her, and that was the final straw. That's what almost broke her. Meanwhile, Abby potentially takes out a whole room of WLF. And it just don't even affect her. Like, it's done away with one line. And I get it, you compartmentalize, you do what you can to survive. I mean, yeah. But come on, one line? That's all my former colleagues get. I was living it up with them. I'm not saying you need to include I don't even think you needed to include some of the guys that you knew, like, that actually got named in the story in this game. Like, personally, if I were doing this, I would put Willow in there. Instead of having her be killed by Ellie, have her be killed by Abby and have her drop the Vita when she dies. That's what I would have done, personally. And that would have been a very small, touching moment. And it would have been a small, touching moment when it comes to killing your own allies, killing people you were eating with, you were having breakfast with less than a week ago, 3 days ago. That's wild that you would have that 3 days ago I was eating lunch with you and I kill you and I toss that away in one line. That's why after that scene, Lev, you are my family. I am 100% with you, Lev. But come on. I ain't killing my own guys. So that's why after that scene, I snuck through that entire mission. And, you know, maybe it's because I wasn't on like the hardest difficulty. I think I was playing it on normal or whatever. But I was able to do it. I was able to get through first time without getting caught. And that's what I felt like should have happened. I know that I hate when people judge a game on what it isn't. I remember hearing all the time in The Last of Us Part 2, or even in Part 1, I heard it a couple of times, that you should have had the choice on what you told Ellie, or you should have had the choice on whether or not Abby dies. That's not what the game is. So I wouldn't put it in the sense of I wouldn't make it so that it was like a forced stealth sequence. But you gotta have some impact on the fact that you killing people that you ate breakfast with 2 days ago. And what's crazy to me is that they already had a system in place that could have worked perfectly for this. I mean, there's only, outside of the characters in the game, like the characters that actually get cutscenes, there's only one death I remember, and that's Bear. I remember when I killed that dog because their owner just yelled out, crying like, Bear! And it's like, yeah, that hits. That's memorable. And every other time it happens, I don't recognize, I don't really remember it. It's like, whatever. Like, yeah, every NPC's got a name, cool. But if you really wanted to make that hit, that was the time to use it. You don't have to do it for every person that she kills in this scene. But when Abby starts killing her own allies, I don't know, a line like, Tom, why'd you make me do this? Like, I didn't want to do this to you, Tom. It's like, should just stay out of my way, Becky. Like, not, like, you know, just begrudging, like, I didn't want to have to kill you. I'm sorry. Or like, I'm sorry, Wendy. I'm sorry that I had to kill you. I didn't want to have to do this. Can you imagine? That would make that hit just a little bit harder when instead of the NPCs, instead of everyone else saying random names, it's like that name don't hit. Like, outside of Bear, that name don't hit. But when I start saying it, if my character starts saying it, if that comes out of my mouth, sorry, Becky, that hits a little bit. That hits harder, man. Sorry, I did that. I am sorry that I killed my old friend. And you know what? That hits a lot harder in my mind. I mean, I remember this might have been a couple years back, and maybe they're still doing it. I ain't on TikTok like that. But you remember those old videos of the school guys? And there were all these memes like, I was nice to the quiet kid. So when he comes up locked and loaded, he's like, yo, Ben, you know what? You can head out. Like, you gave me your crunch bar the other day. You can head out. And then he starts blasting. How is it that somehow humanizes the character more than this person just being like, how is it that those memes are more humanized than Abby in this scenario? It's crazy to me that Abby don't got nothing to say. Just shut up. I don't want to think about it. Okay, cool. But but she needs to think about it because immediately after, it's tragedy after tragedy after tragedy with her. And if it's tragedy after tragedy, they all get compounded. They all get, how do I put this? Because they all get compounded, they're not all addressed. It's like all these issues are coming up, and then the story is just like, forget about that. That don't matter. The next thing is happening, and she don't have to think about how she killed 5, 10, 20 of her former friends. I'm not saying that she knew all these people, like ate lunch with them every day. But I worked at a company that had 100 people in it, and I knew, like, that had over 100, honestly. I worked at Activision. That place had a good 200 people in there throughout the day. Easy. I knew, like, a good 50 people. I didn't know them like that. Like I wasn't close with them, but come on. I definitely would have. And I went to school with freaking 5,000. I wasn't close to everyone, but there was definitely people in there that I knew. So come on, you can't tell me that she didn't know these guys. You can't. They seemed pretty betrayed. They were calling you out by name, so you can't tell me that they weren't. And they knew your face because they knew that it was a WLF person, a former WLF person. They didn't just say, "Oh, it was." They weren't shooting any WLF. They were finding you specifically. So they knew your face. They knew your name. They were calling you out by name. So if they knew you by name, maybe you didn't know them by name, but you definitely saw them around. That's all I'm saying. And if you saw them around, that humanizes them. Maybe not to the player, but to the character. And if the character is not feeling remorse for killing her former we'll put it as co-workers because they ain't your friends necessarily, but like, you know, some of them you were close to, some of them you weren't. If the character don't feel bad about putting down their co-workers, their classmates or whatever, why am I supposed to feel bad? How am I supposed to, that moment don't hit the way that it should because she don't feel bad about icing anyone. I didn't know any of these people. She knew them. Yet she don't feel bad about icing them. I mean, obviously she does, according to the game, but that's one line I don't want to talk about it. And I don't want to talk about a lot of things, but you in the game. You got all this chatter, and you ain't going to say nothing? Come on. I think it's one of the main reasons, and the thing is, no one talks about this moment in the game. I don't know any YouTuber that talked about it outside of like a small mention, like 5 second, less than 5 second mention outside of Luke Stevens. And I love Luke Stevens. He makes great content. But he compared it to when Joel goes through the hospital. That ain't the same. Joel is killing a bunch of people he don't know. Joel, we didn't know the surgeon. I don't even remember the surgeon's name. Abby's dad. We didn't know Abby's dad back then. That's why they could make that storyline. That's why they could make The Last of Us Part 2 storyline. Because we can kill all these people. We don't know them. We had that one moment of humanization where the dude's like, those were my friends. We had that one moment. We had another moment of humanization where the cannibal was talking about how an old man and a little girl took out his whole team, his whole group. Those were the only two moments that we had that humanized them. But like, you know, there was a moment in there. There was a moment. That made them human. Abby feels less human than them in that moment. When she's taken, it's not the same when Joel takes out 20, 30, even 100 guys. If you don't know them, that ain't the same. That ain't nowhere near the same as taking out 10 people that you pass at work maybe once a week. You knew them. You recognized their faces. I'm not saying that you were, I ain't saying that you were buddy-buddy, but you knew them. That should have an impact on you. And it should have had a big impact on Abby so that it could have so that it could even have a semblance of a chance of making an impact on the player. So, I hope you liked my little Nando V Movies one small change moment of just doing just having her say the names of the people. I think that would change that whole moment up like crazy, man. It would actually made her human. Show some regret on the fact that you killed some people you actually knew. It's crazy how that little thing could work so well. I don't know, man. Okay, well, you just heard me rant for I don't know how long. Thought you were going to end it already. Hurry up and press square.